Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Noel spinner card. I have all of my pieces cut out, as should you, and it's a very simple little card, and I think your recipients are going to love it because of the spinning element. Once we actually get the card together, we're going to wind it up so that when they go ahead and open it, it's going to be kind of interactive. So definitely something different, but also very quick and easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin by assembling and just putting down some of the panels on the base. Okay, so the way it's going to work is, and I want my texture side out. Okay, so I've already folded it. The fold in the center is actually going to be a mountain fold, so it's going to fold in like this. So make sure you fold it like this. Okay, but in the meantime, let's close it up. And what we're going to do on the face here on the front of this is where we're going to put our main caption, Noel. Okay, it's just going to get glued down like this. And as you can see here, I've actually inked this and ran it through an embossing folder. It fits perfectly in a one of the larger embossing folders, so you shouldn't have any problem with that. Actually, we do also have a little tip video that shows you how to emboss pieces like this that may be a little bit larger than the embossing folder that you have. So that's also a possibility too. Basically what you do is you run it through twice, but either way, we're going to begin by applying glue to the back of the actual caption panel. I had a little extra glue there at the top, so rub some of that off. This is going to go right on the face of the card. I'm going to put this down flat so that I don't make any mistakes. And this is going to go on centered. Okay, so we want to make sure, and also notice that there are a series of little score marks on here, and those score marks, you want to make sure that if you do see score marks that you have those at the top. Okay, so I had to flip this around. And this is going to go again right on the face. Put this down flat and get that nice and centered. You should have an even border all the way around. The little markers that we have at the top are to help us put down these little elements that I will show you here in just a little bit, okay, but don't worry about it too much. In the center of the O, we're going to put a beautiful little silver snowflake, okay, and let me make sure that, that's it, just pop that on there. I was just making sure that I didn't need to emboss this. This was not marked as needing to be embossed, and actually I don't think it needs to anyway. It's just a nice little, this is like a silver foil. Okay, so we just need to pop that right in the center. Make sure that you match it up with the little little cutouts around it, just like that. There's your beautiful little Noel, nice and shimmery. Okay, and then on the other side we have the same sized panel, just no caption. And that's going to go on this side, like so. So let me put that out flat. Let's get our glue going on the back of this. Okay. And again, nice and centered. Just like that. As you can see, you can take a plain piece of paper and with a little bit of inking and embossing, turn it into something magical. There's going to be something on the back as well, because when we put our little ornament together and adhere it to the card, we'll get to that here shortly. In the meantime, when we open up the card, we are going to have some elements inside, so that's what we need to glue down now. We have two of these, and these are perfect little areas for you to for you to write whatever you want to write, journal whatever you want to journal. Okay, and again, remember those markers are there to help us with the positioning of these little guys here, these little corner elements. Okay, those are going to go right into those little corners. So what I actually would recommend you do is put down one of these using the little guides here, just so that we know where to position the bigger piece. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of glue on there, okay, and find the little markers and get that in there. I'm just going to do one so that I know where to put this one. And actually, you know what? You might as well just do the other one too. Let's just get both of them in place. And these are symmetrical pieces, I believe. Let me double check and make sure they are. Okay. So we're going to get the other one in place, and then that way we know exactly where to place the other one while maintaining a nice even border, because we have the markers for these. Okay, I can see the little marker there and the little marker there. I might need to nudge that just a tiny bit. Okay, so we have these two little corner elements in place, which is going to help us figure out exactly where this needs to go, because like I mentioned, we want to make sure that we maintain a nice even border on all the sides, including the bottom. And you know, if we put it up here, you can see that the border's not even and it's too big down here. So that's going to really help us get that aligned correctly. All right, so let's get that in place, and we'll repeat the same thing on the other side. And then we've got a few more little panels to put together. And then we can put our little ornament together, which is not that difficult. It's mostly just paper piecing stuff here, nothing wild going on here. Okay, that looks good, nice and centered. Nice even border. I know I say that a lot. There we go. Press that down into place. Perfect. Okay. All right, so now we got that in place, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So let's grab our little corner pieces, and remember, we do have some little markers there to help you with the positioning. And go easy on the glue here. Tiny little piece. Don't need to go crazy with the glue. And find your little marker here. It's kind of hard to see in my light right now, so I'm going to lift this up for a quick second. And there we go, just like that. Press that down into place. I'll grab my other one. And get that in place. Okay, this one is a little bit more visible, which is nice. And there we go, just like that. Press that down, and then we'll grab the larger panel. Get our glue going on there. So all three of these cards from this brand new bundle for Christmas in July, they go together pretty quick. I don't think any of them took me more than about 20 some minutes, which is nice. You factor in, you know, gas costs and travel time, and I guess you could order stuff online, but you guys have your machines. That's why you have them. You want to make your own stuff, and this is definitely mass producible, I'd say. Okay, so there's that. Perfect. It looks great, especially with that inking. Just really sets it off and makes it look wonderful. Okay, so now we're going to put together, or actually we're just going to glue down these panels here. Make sure you grab the ones that, or put them in the right position. This one's going to go here. It's actually going to be flush with the inside, and then there's going to be a border around the rest of it. So let's do that. Let's get that going. I also inked this with a little bit of turquoise. Turquoise is typically the go-to color that I use when inking anything white, especially white glitter. You can definitely ink glitter just because it's already got, just because it's already blingy doesn't mean you can't ink it. Probably grab it from these two ends just so it doesn't flap around, and look at that little interior there and make sure that all matches up nicely, and then just drop it into place. Press it down. It'll automatically kind of situate itself where it needs to and create that nice border for you. And if we did everything correctly with these and line this up, you'll notice that these two are lined up perfectly at the bottom as well. So that is a job well done, everyone. And then we've got the same thing on this side. Get the glue going here. So this is definitely pretty straightforward. I think you could probably even have some fun with the kids, grandkids, nephews, nieces. I think they'd have a really fun time making the Santa gift card holder. That's a fun one that I think the kids could do as well. There's probably a few parts on it that you would need to do, but I guess it depends on, how their dexterity level. And there's that. Perfect. Okay, so the card base is all done. Looks wonderful. Very, very beautiful wintry colors here. Okay. All right, so let's put our ornament together now. Okay, so what we're going to do what we need to do is actually going to glue the two sides together first, because we need to put a string through this. And when we glue the string, we're going to make sure to leave a lot of excess string, so that when we actually adhere it to the card, we have plenty to work with, because we're going to end up trimming some of it off. My fly friend is back again. I guess he's a YouTube subscriber, and he's really wanted to get a front row seat to the assembly on this one. Okay, so go easy on the glue here, especially if you're using a silver foil like I am. Okay, and we just want to make sure that we apply this on here and that we get it nice and centered with an even border all the way around. Now, this paper is not very forgiving when it comes to glue, so make sure you get it centered, and you don't have to move it around too much to get it centered. So I did a good job there. Go me. Okay, perfect. That looks great. And we're actually going to take and, as far as the snowflake goes, we've got one little piece that goes on the inside like this, and then we're going to use some foam squares to give this some dimension. So it's going to kind of pop out a little bit as far as the snowflake goes on the ornament. Okay, which means that we don't want to put it on just yet. We're going to put it on after we get the string in place. Otherwise, we might mess it up, and we don't want to do that. So get that right in the center. Make sure it's nice and centered. That looks great. You can definitely put a little pearl or a rhinestone right there as well. And as I mentioned, I'm going to take and with a little foam square, pop that on there. Not just yet. So we just need to do the same thing on the other half of our ornament. So let's do that. Let's get this one glued down to the other half. And you can use string. What I'm going to do is actually use just a little bit of fishing line. Some really thin fishing line, so it almost looks like it's floating. That's going to look really cool. Okay, and it's not as bulky. Not that it would matter too much. Using regular string shouldn't really affect it too much. But again, let's make sure that we get this nice and centered. Like that. Perfect. Beautiful. Okay, don't worry about the snowflake just yet. There we go. We also forgot to mention here, we have this little blue circle that we need to put on top. So we'll just throw a little dot of glue on that guy there, pop them right in the middle. Make sure it's nice and centered. Do the same thing on the other side. And we'll get our last little snowflake ready to go. Okay, I've got ink all over my fingers. Typically I'll do all three of the projects, unless there's more. Within probably, and today I think I started at about, noon, I'd say. I take a quick break here and there in between assemblies, and have to take breaks in between assembly because I have to hit record on the camera. But I got all three of these cards done. If I had to actually count the exact number or amount of time that I actually spent crafting, I'd say probably about 2.5 hours, maybe, not even, to get all three of these cards done. And you have to keep in mind that I'm doing it for the first time as well, so I have to make sure that I'm teaching it properly. So I do take my time to make sure that I do that right. Okay, so now here comes not the tricky part, but let me make sure this is dry. Yep, okay. So we do need to put a string on this, okay? Again, here's my fishing line, and I'm just gonna make sure that I have plenty of excess string. So make sure you have at least, I'd say at least 4 or 5 inches of excess on either side. And I think the best thing to do here, if you have it, if you don't, you can use glue, but just to help you keep the string in the right place, some double-sided tape might actually come in handy here. And also because with double-sided tape, you can make sure that you keep this nice and centered down the middle. Okay, so I'm just going to put some double-sided tape on this. Okay, cut that off. Okay, I'll peel that off. And then you can also add a little bit of glue on top of that, which we're going to do anyway when we sandwich these together. Okay, so I've got double-sided tape on there. And again, keep some excess. I'm pulling it nice and tight so it's nice and straight. And find the tip of the bottom of the ornament and the tip of the top of the ornament, and then just press that down onto the double-sided tape, just like that. Okay, perfect, just like that. Now we're going to take this, we're going to sandwich this together so that we've got the fishing line already connected, so we can start gluing this down. And again, we're adding additional glue to this, so it's definitely going to keep this thing in place. The double-sided tape was just to kind of keep it in place. You could also just use Scotch tape too. I think the double-sided tape works a lot better though, because it really just holds it in place. And now we're adding extra tape, or extra glue I should say, just to make sure that this thing doesn't go anywhere at all. And sandwich that together, give that a press all the way around. Now make sure that that fishing line is nice and centered at the bottom there. Okay, and then just keep pressing all the way around just to make sure that that is making good solid contact throughout. Okay, maybe don't press too hard in the center where the string is, because I'm noticing that I'm getting a little bit that it's showing, which isn't a problem because we're actually going to take and we're going to put our snowflakes in place anyway, so it's not a big deal. Check your seams, make sure everything looks like it's holding nicely, and as you can see, I can spin it around now. Perfect. Okay. All right, we'll put our snowflakes on after we actually get it connected to the card. So what we're going to do first is we're going to just kind of drop this in here and just make sure it's centered. And we're going to grab our hot glue gun, and we're literally just going to put a tiny little dot of glue, the tiniest, smallest dot you could possibly get out there, because otherwise it may look kind of messy, okay? In which case, it's the back of the card, not a big deal. Okay, let me get my hot glue gun out. So you might want to practice with your hot glue gun trying to get a tiny, tiny, tiny little drop of glue out, because you don't need a lot. Okay, so get that hot glue gun nice and hot and literally try to make the smallest possible dot you can. I'd probably go about halfway up. So let me get this nice and straight. I'm using my mat here to make sure that it's nice and straight. I'll grab this from both ends, get the string lined up with where the fold is. Okay, and let me make sure that I've got it where I want it. Let's get it nice and centered. That's where I want it. So I'm going to hold everything in place. Okay, and pull that back for just a quick second. Whoops. And I'm going to apply just the tiniest little dot of glue there. You don't need a lot, just a tiny little dot. Okay, give that a second, spin that around, and then hold that in place. Pull this nice and tight right onto the hot glue, and then press that down. We can clean off any of that excess that doesn't belong there. Okay, I did not get enough on there actually. Let me try that one more time. There we go, that's better. And there's that little silly little wispy thing. Okay, and pop that right in there. Okay, give that a few seconds. And then we're going to actually take and press that down, and we're going to flatten it out. Just like that. Press that down real good. There we go. Okay, and now let's go ahead and fold the card. I can leave that how it is, that's fine. Okay, kept that nice and centered. So yeah, there's a tiny little dot there, and that's fine. It's the back of the card. No one's really going to see it. All right, so now I'm going to take this guy, give it a little tug, make sure it's secure. It is. And I'm going to move this out of the way. And, oh boy. This is why I'm not a big fan of hot glue. Again, smallest little dot you can get. You don't want it too small because then it's not going to do anything, but don't go crazy with it. And boy, I just don't like hot glue. Okay, we're going to pull that nice and tight right onto the ball of glue. Make sure you let it go up there. Hold it tight. Give it a few seconds and then press. I'm telling you to give it a few seconds because I don't want you to burn your finger. And then we'll let it go. Okay, so that's what it should look like. And then let's fold the card. Hold on a second, we gotta fold it this way now. And just make sure that that seam is nice and folded, and there you go. Okay, so technically if you want to, if you don't like the little blemish that it leaves there, you can cut out a little circle and cover it up, but I don't think it's a big deal. Then you want to trim the string just right above where it's cut. Okay, and it's going to fold like this, and there you have it. Okay, so now all that's left to do is take our beautiful little snowflake. And I've got, this reminds me of when I go fishing with my kids. There's line everywhere. All right, we'll flip this over. And I'm gonna take, I think just one of these will work just fine. We'll throw one little foam square on the back. And then we just need to take this and center it nicely right here, like so. Beautiful. And then we'll flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. You don't want to push down as hard here because we have a snowflake on the other side. You don't want to squish it. And get that centered. And there we go. All right, so that's it. Look at that. So now when you go to deliver it or when you send it out, make sure you wind it up. So let's wind it up like 3 or 4 times and then close it so that when they go to open it, voila. How cool is that? And it should usually stop in the correct spot, just like that. Okay, so that's done. And all that's left to do is put together our little envelope here. So I have all of the pieces for the envelope here. I've already pre-folded everything. I just fold everything at the score marks, obviously. And this is our little pattern piece. What we're gonna do is gonna glue it down so that just the very edge of it is kind of coming out around the white section. And to do that, I'm going to apply our glue to the inside of the actual flap instead of trying to figure out where to place the glue on that piece. Okay, we want to get this glue all the way down to just about the very edge and work the perimeter a bit and then a little bit on the inside, like so. There we go. And take this piece, obviously you want your pattern side facing out, lift up the flap, grab this piece and just kind of push it up against the fold, center it. So I'm kind of pushing it forward and down at the same time, making sure it's centered, and then take this piece and press it down, and it should line up perfectly. And press that down all the way around, just like that. Okay. And then we'll take our little snowflake and put a few dots of glue on the snowflake itself. Now this is a silver foil. And the back of it is not very porous, so it doesn't really pull and draw the glue in. You might have to kind of dab it a little bit to flatten it out. Make sure you don't have any on your finger. And get that nice and centered. And I'm going to use the palm of my hand just in case I have a little bit of glue on my fingers. There we go, perfect. Okay, so now we can take the 2 flaps, pull them in, and we'll throw a little bit of glue along the very inside of each of the 2 flaps. Don't go too heavy with it because it'll kind of it'll show through. I'm gonna go very easy on it and then pull this up right on top, press down, and there we go. And let's see, what else do we have to do here? We've got, I think we just need to put a silver rhinestone. I'm gonna put some, yeah, just put some rhinestones on the center of the, there's your beautiful card. And for me, all I'm doing here now is just putting a tiny little dot of glue in the center of our little snowflake, and I have just some little clear rhinestones that I'm gonna pop right in the center just to give it a little extra bling. Just like that. Let's make sure that's nice and centered, and it is. We'll flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. So that's gonna do it. This is, for me, it's the third of the 3 cards that we have from the new bundle. I think each one is cool and special and unique in its own way. Hope you enjoy all 3 of them. And also, hopefully you can incorporate them into your Christmas cards this year. So again, don't forget to wind this thing up. Just rotate it maybe 3 or 4 times and then close it so that when they go to open it, it'll want to unwind. It'll spin around beautifully for them. So that's gonna do it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please visit our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit that little bell so that you get notifications. Anytime we release something new, whether it be paid or free, or if we go live, it really helps us a lot. And if you make this or anything from this bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would our thriving community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can type in this little URL that you see here at the bottom of your screen. So I hope you enjoyed it as always, and I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and also please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section, where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.